What is going on, everybody, man? So, my battery is not at 100%. It's not even at 50%, alright? So I'm going to talk for as long as I can until my battery shuts off. But I had to get some of this off my chest, man. Earlier on in the week, there was some really awesome information given to us by Arthur from Library of O'Hara. And I really wanted to talk about it because there was some stuff that really intrigued me about Wano, about certain things in the future. And then today, from Saudi Anime Expo, we got some even more information from another interview. But I had to go in and see because there was a few differences in translation that I saw, so I just took the common denominator from the translations that I read and pulled from that, and that's what we're going to be talking about here today. But before I go into it, I want to preface that they do. How do I put it? It's them vaguely discussing basically what is going to happen in the future of the series. So like I always say in the beginning of these videos, if you do not want to know like anything about what is going to happen in the future of the story, not like I always say, Oda, it doesn't matter what the editors tell us, Oda's always going to break our ankles. But just in case, if you do not want to know anything, then do not listen to this video because I will be discussing some things that were brought up by either the editors or by Toei for the future of the series. Even though, like I said, it's very, very vague, it's still stuff that exists. So I know there's a lot of people out there that do not want to get anything, which I can completely understand 110%. So if you do not want to know anything about the future of the series, especially if you have not watched One Piece Stampede, then exit this video. Exit this video because I do not want to be the one to spoil you, man. I would hate to spoil anybody on the best-selling manga in history. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about the stuff from earlier on in the week with Recon and Oda's editors about the future of the series that was translated and done by Arthur from Library of O'Hara. And then I'm going to talk about the interviews that happened today. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, like I said, because my battery's low, but I really want to talk about this. So one thing that, or the first thing I'm going to start off with is for Stampede. That apparently everyone in the staff loved the scope of the movie, claiming it felt almost like watching the end of the series. That's exactly what I said. That's exactly how I felt while going through it. And apparently Naito cried himself. But while Oda did love it as well, he also flexed on the fact that he's going to one-up it by a long shot when it comes to One Piece's final arc. And I said this both in the theater and in the afterthoughts, that Oda only allowed that movie to happen because what he has in his mind trumps it like tenfold. Because knowing Oda as a storyteller, he would not allow something like this to exist if he didn't have something much more incredible in mind. You know what I'm saying? So that has me even more excited. And he specified to say that it's coming from One Piece's final arc, man. Which we all know from the very beginning, that's been the one thing Oda's been the most excited about. Like, he compared Marineford, for example, as like, man, y'all thought that was GOAT? Just wait until y'all see what I have in mind for the final arc. And based on what we've been seeing from the Reverie and all that stuff, I can only imagine how epic and how awesome sauce that final arc is going to be. And with him stating stuff like he already has the final chapter in his mind for so many years, and by final chapter, I mean final arc. Like, that's been in his mind the entire time. I mean, he started from there and worked his way backwards, you know what I'm saying? That's just the type of storyteller that he is. But the fact that he is that excited for the ending has me very excited, because I'm like, yo, a lot of this other stuff that took place in the series, it came from a basis of how incredible the ending is. So, the journey to get to that point has been what we've been on. But the one thing that's existed since he came up with the concept of One Piece is that ending. So, I can already tell that whenever Oda states this, he's not just flexing the flex, he means it 110%. So I cannot wait to see what he means by that whenever we do get to that portion, into that point in the story. And then he spoke a little bit about, so I'll read this. Now, this is from Stampede once again. If you have not watched Stampede, please do not watch this video. So, we're talking about it here. The romanization of Laugh Tale in Stampede is indeed confirmed to be 100% canon. I was wondering about that, and I heard that in the English dub, they also used Laugh Tale, when in the actual English dub, they referred to it as Raftel. I remember that because I watched that particular portion in English dub in Neon Alley, and I remember waiting for that episode to come out, whenever they meet Crocus, and I recall him saying Raftel. So I was wondering if they were going to do Raftail or Laugh-Tale in the dub, and somebody told me that they ended up using Laugh-Tale in the dub. So the decision was made by Oda himself, and it's something he wanted to reveal in the story. He finally decided to do so in Stampede. Now this is very interesting. Oda himself wanted to reveal it in the story, but he ended up wanting to reveal that in Stampede. So it just makes me think, where would he have revealed this concept of Laugh-Tale? I'm going to assume that it would have been either A, in post Wano, even though that's already so jam-packed based on what we were seeing here today, that maybe that's why he decided, you know what, screw it. Post Wano's already going to be so filled. On the lead up to Raftail, you know, getting on the way to Raftail, or maybe they meet another one of, or like listen to a story of Roger, or maybe we see it from Roger's perspective within the flashback. Like within the flashback itself, we could hear Roger saying, "Yo, we're heading to Laugh-Tale next," or something like that, right? Maybe he could have revealed it in that way, but instead he decided to make it the main point of a movie, and so and he talks about it right here. He also talks about how Laugh-Tale isn't about just the place that has the One Piece anymore. He hints at a bigger meaning for the island, which ties into why the name Laugh-Tale is a big hint for it and why it was revealed in such grand fashion, which is fascinating in of itself. The interviewer worries if it's fine to say such things in an interview, but the editor claims Oda gave the approval. The series doesn't have that much left, so he wants people to hop on and read the Wano arc while they still can, since a bunch of stuff will be revealed there. Oda's decision to introduce the concept of the Laugh-Tale internal pose, as well as its romanization in Stampede, was to go against the conceived notion of big reveals being only in the main story of a manga and finding other ways for fans to engage. Alright, so I'm going to stop right there for a sec. For a very long time, I read... by reading, I mean I skim through the Vivre cards, because I feel like for a long time, this is just the way that it is with me when it comes to One Piece. For a very long time, if it's not in the manga, if it's not within the confines of the manga, I treat it as like the manga is 100%. This is the factual stuff that we go by, and then the other stuff such as movies, Vivre cards, data books, all that stuff is secondary to that. You know, the manga to me that's the factual stuff right there. After reading what Oda had to say here about Raftail, or being Laugh-Tale, and about deciding to reveal that in Stampede, it really made me think about the Vivre cards and why Oda has decided to reveal so much information within the Vivre cards lately. Whereas for so long he decided to keep so much of that stuff on the down low key. I'm wondering when it was that he came to the realization that by the Flagnards, I might not have the room to reveal all of this within the confines of my own series. Or rather, he does not want to reveal all of that within the manga. So I'm going to assume that he started that process with the Vivre cards. Wanted to reveal, for example, where certain people are from, backstories. Like, I was so shocked when we learned certain pieces of information about Shanks' crew through Vivre cards. I was like, holy Flagnards, bro. Like, what are we doing here? And for so long, like I said before, I skimmed through it, but I never took the Vivre cards to be, a source of information that I would hold on the same level as the manga. Maybe that's just me being ignorant, but that was just my mindset. But I feel like after reading this, it's kind of hard to say that the Vivre cards and stuff like that Oda has used in order to give us information about certain characters is his way of doing something like this, to where he says, the notion of big reveals being only the main story of manga, finding other ways for fans to engage. I mean, there's no bigger way of fans engaging than movies and them going on and spending their hard-earned money on these data books and on these Vivre cards. So it's very interesting to me that I suppose after Oda, whenever it is that he decided this notion in his mind, because he obviously hasn't been there for a while, I'm pretty sure, like I said, he must have been talking with his editors, just sitting on his desk one day and was like, Flagnards, or maybe it was just a long process of him saying, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to reveal all of this stuff. This world is so huge, and I have to finish this series one day. that if I want to finish it, there's just certain things that I have to reveal outside of the manga, which is why he came up with like the data books and the favorite cards. And data books have been around for a long time, but we never got the amount of information that we got out of those favorite cards. So with those favorite cards, he was able to give us stuff that that we can take with us and take that information and apply it into the manga. And then he took that very same concept while making Stampede and decided to make it about Laugh Tale and that massive revelation, which was originally supposed to be in the manga. Now, where am I going with this? I'm interested on knowing when, because it's not an if, it's a when, and what we learn next that is supposed to be a something quote-unquote important outside of the manga. You know what I mean? And I'm curious on how they're willing to do it, because we see they're experimenting with certain things. And now Oda himself is stating that it's going against the conceived notion of big reveals being only in the main story of a manga. So it's intriguing to me. It's intriguing to me because, and I like it, because the series of One Piece, Oda realizes that when one dives into the series, it's not just about being a part of this manga experience. It's much more bigger than that. You know, we have the manga, we have the anime, we have the movies, we the hardcore fans, we all engage in these data books, we all engage on the little pieces of interviews and information, and they realize that. They realize that the fans are eating up as much as we possibly can from this story and all of the media that comes with it. So I'm going to assume that that's why certain holes are left in the manga where the anime has been filling them lately. And it's not holes per se, but room for the anime to explore certain things. Like, for example, was Zoro in this past chapter, with him meeting the tiger that he was going to end up opponing in chapter 920, where we wondered, where did Zoro go? And he ended up getting lost. But we actually got to see that in the anime, thanks to what Toei is doing. So that was very, very interesting. And just reading that and seeing how Oda feels about that entire thing is so... It's fascinating to me, because we know how much Oda cares about his manga. You know, Oda never sleeps. He puts in 110% of the effort. And he's not the only mangaka that does this, I know. But Oda's been doing it for so long. Consistently for 20 plus years. And still maintains this level of quality on a weekly basis. So you know that this man is putting in the effort and the work, and he himself has stated that he starves himself in order to stay awake, to deliver and come up with new ideas. So you know that he prides himself on his manga and on the quality of his manga. So for him to state this, it's 100% a shoot. It's 100% a shoot, man. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing, like I said, the future of the story outside of the manga now, because it looks like they're going to try to explore, to tell more stories that are important to the series outside of the manga, which could mean OVAs, which could mean movies. I mean, we've thrown around the idea of having OVAs and movies about Roger's past, and just about the entire... You could have an entire spin-off series with, like, Oda's green light on the Roger era of One Piece. You know, I would take it, y'all would take it, we know this, man. We've been talking about a possible God Valley incident or some sort of movie based around that era, even though it would be hard to do, because the main selling point of a One Piece movie to casual fans is to have the Straw Hats in it. But an OVA, you know, we'll take an OVA, just like episode 0, right before Strong World came out, we'll take an entire OVA, and the God Valley incident, I'll take that all day of the week, you know what I'm saying? So, but I just found that to be very, very interesting on Oda's decision to reveal that in the movie, because he wanted to go against that preconceived notion that only the manga is important. You know, like, it's interesting, especially coming from him. Especially coming from him, man. So, we continue on from there. There's a reason why Oda is placing certain focus on Roger's past during Wano, claiming that in Oda's words, the Wano arc will tie deeply with the final arc in the series. This arc will give a major hint on what the One Piece itself is. So I'm going to connect this into an interview that was stated today, where is it right here? Okay, so number 2 there was something I was gonna bring up later, but since it connects to this one so well, I'm gonna talk about it. There was an interview that came from the Saudi Anime Expo that was with the anime staff. That one of the things that was stated was, by the end of the Wano arc, we will have an understanding of what the One Piece is, and we will see something related to it, right? And I've seen several different translations, but that was the main gist of what I was able to gather from it. There was one translation that said that we will see the One Piece revealed by the end of Wano, and I think the wording on that is interesting for both of them. I never take any interview at face value. I always try to look at what's being said and think about who's saying it. You know, these individuals are people who are supposed to hype up these series. So, because of course it's not Oda himself stating this. But what's interesting to me about the whole One Piece thing, I feel like that was always forbidden ground for me, for anybody to ever talk about. Oh, like if anybody talks about what the One Piece is or when it'll be revealed or none of that stuff, to me it was like a taboo. So, and I think it still is, which is why when we're talking about this arc will give a major hint on what the One Piece itself is, and by the end of Wano we'll have an understanding of what the One Piece is. It gives weight to what Oda stated. It's not that we will find out exactly what the One Piece is by the end of Wano, which is, I 100% do not think it will be the case. But I feel like by the end of Wano, because we're going to be on course to the finale of the series, because to me, this has been, even before these interviews, even before Wano started, we had been saying that this arc, to me, once post-Wano ends, or I should even say once post-Wano begins, post-Wano starts the final saga of One Piece. I've always been on board with that mindset. So with that being said, I am on board with the idea that what Oda and the staff and the editors are trying to say here is that the Wano arc is going to give us massive information, many more clues, and an idea of what the One Piece is. It's, the best way I can put it is, to a mystery of he's doing to the One Piece what he did with Im-sama. Whereas Im-sama, he confirmed the existence of Im-sama, but we don't know what Im-sama is. Like, we've seen Instant Messenger Sama, we see the silhouette of Instant Messenger Sama, we see how certain other people feel about Instant Messenger Sama, but we know nothing about Instant Messenger Sama. And I think in that very same way, either within Onigashima, within a flashback, because according to this is based on Roger's past, or whenever we do get to the portion of Roger's past within the Odin plot later on the line, whenever with the Kozuki clan, whenever it is that he decides to reveal this, somewhere within this arc, which if to me it's post-Wano, like I said, post-Wano, we're going to get a major hint on what the One Piece itself is. And according to Oda, the Wano arc will tie deeply with the final arc in the series, which to me is definitely obvious with the Kozuki clan, and with all of the focus on the Void Sentry and the One Piece, especially with Roger's past. Like those three things to me have always been connected, because I felt like once we knew one, it would just be like dominoes to finding out the next one. The more we know about Roger's past, the more we know about the Void Sentry. The more we know about the Void Sentry, then we're gonna figure out what the One Piece is. You know. Now, I just want to say one thing. Because One Piece is the title of the series, I don't expect us to know what the treasure actually is until final arc 100%. And the reason why I say that is because I can see why people would think that the One Piece could be revealed in the end of Wano. But knowing Oda as a storyteller, and knowing how much he puts emphasis on mysteries, and on giving us little bits and pieces for each mystery, before giving us the full thing, and which there's so many mysteries that he continues to give us bits and pieces. In the same way that, to me, the Void Sentry was hyped up in Robin's flashback in terms of every time we think and talk about the Void Sentry, I always refer back to Robin's flashback. Robin's flashback has the most information that we can go back and take from when it comes to the Void Sentry. In that very same mindset, I think we're going to have either ideas brought up in a similar way, like with Clover and the stuff they were talking about, where in the library about certain pieces about the Void Sentry. In that very same manner, I think we're going to get something like that, but them talking about the One Piece. So we're going to have an idea. Like, we're going to have a confirmation, well, we already know that it exists, but real-time individuals in that era talking about the One Piece. And that is what I think they mean about that. Like I said, Oda always starts off, I mean, the entire series is about the One Piece, but I think in this one in particular, he's gonna real deal give us like some this is some endgame stuff right here. But we're still gonna be very far off from knowing what the thing actually is. Like, I'm pretty sure in classic Oda faction, it's gonna leave us confused. We're gonna be like, what in the flying flagnards is this, right? So that is how I take those two things stated in both interviews. And in that way, I can see why it is that both of them decided to say that. Because I know from the outside looking in, it is weird that someone would say, oh man, you're going to learn about the One Piece in this arc. But I know where they're coming from as editors to hype up the story. And it's not like they're telling you, flagnards, you're going to like this, and this. It's just them saying, no, dog. Within this arc is so important that by the time you finish it, you will have more of an idea of what the One Piece is than you ever have in the past. And that is really what I wanted from this arc from the very beginning. Is in post Wano, and I say this a lot in many different videos, but I guess I'll reiterate it here. Post Wano is what is going to start that domino that's going to lead us towards the finale of the series. We've already seen a little bit of that with the Reverie arc and seeing certain pieces already being set in place. But in post, I've already stated, and I'm not the only one that thinks this way. I've seen y'all in the comment section say this as well, and in streams. But we're going to find out some massive Void Sentry information in this arc, man. And with the series ending, like they're stating that the plan is to end it in 5 years, which I never trust what any of them say when it comes to percentages or any stuff like that. But the fact that they have a general idea of like, yo, we're in the end game now, at the very least tells me that we're in the end game. Like, it's closer than I initially thought. So it might not be 5. Actually, I would dare say it's definitely not 5 years. It's in that span, 5 to 10. 5 to 10. I would dare say 5 to 8. But it's in there now. It's in there. You know what I'm saying? Like they already know this is where we're heading towards. This is the main general idea, and in their minds, this can be finished in 5 years. Now, of course, it's up to Oda and how he decides to go about this. I know for a fact, not us, not him, and not Toei, and not Shonen Jump want Oda to rush the series. They probably want this to go on for as long as possible. So do I, right? But they do have an end. Like the end game is almost here. Actually, I would dare say we've been in the end game since chapter 903. That for me started the end game. When I saw 5th Emperor of the Sea, Monkey D. Luffy, I was like, yo, we're almost done. This series is almost over. And just looking back on that chapter, I remember the main thing I got away from that chapter was I'm just going to appreciate and love every single chapter that comes from here on out, because we're not going to have this for much longer, man. And after reading these interviews right here, it makes me feel that way 100-fold. Like, dog, we real deal have to appreciate and value every chapter and episode we get from here on out, son. Because years from now, man, we're just going to get closer and closer and closer to not having a brand new One Piece thing, bro. At least from Oda. Like, I'm pretty sure the brand One Piece is probably going to go on for as long as Dragon Ball. They're probably going to have OVAs and specials and all that stuff for years. But in terms of the manga, which is the main thing that so many of us consume, that's going to end one day, man. And it's closer rather than later, man. And with that being said, we'll move on to the next one. But I just really wanted to talk about that One Piece thing, because I think the number one thing, aside from having all the Strats together again, that I've been most excited about for Wano since the very beginning is post-Wano, because I just felt like post-Wano and the Odin flashback would be where we got the most Void Sentry, Will of D, and One Piece information, which I think we will be getting all three. I think we will definitely be getting insight into the Will of D, the Void Sentry, and the One Piece. I think the Void Sentry out of the most, out of all of them, of course, because it's the Kozuki clan. But a major hint on what the One Piece is, bro. That's going to be crazy. Then right here, now this is really, really cool. I'm glad that they stated this, because this is how all of us felt. The beginning of the Wano arc, with Luffy stranded after falling into a whirlpool and meeting Zoro for the first time, is purposefully meant to evoke nostalgia for the beginning of the series and made it feel like Luffy is embarking on a new journey all over again. And I love this, because that's exactly how we all felt. But we actually stated that word for word back in the day. And then this one right here, man. So these next three, I cannot stress this enough, bro. I'm going to read these word for word. Because of this feeling like the start again, Oda's editor encourages fans to read volumes 91 and 94, which is Wano, even if they aren't fully caught up. That is so fascinating to me, that Oda and the editor, or at least Oda's editors, I'm pretty sure Oda wants people to read the entire series, but Oda's editor says, yo, hop on. Hop on right now, even if you're not fully caught up. Now, I've always been against that mindset, but I can't go against what an editor's saying. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can go against it. Screw that. Like, people, if you're reading this, screw that. Read from chapter 1. Read from chapter 1, or watch from episode 1. Don't start in the middle of Wano. I think that'd be very, very weird. But the editors want you to start in the middle of Wano. He claims that One Piece will end eventually, so he encourages fans to ride the wave now to enjoy the social phenomenon for as long as it lasts, man. The editor pressures fans to read manga chapters as soon as possible. I'm going to read this one more time, bro. The editor pressures fans to read manga chapters as soon as possible in order to avoid spoilers. He claims that if someone is not caught up to the manga, it's so easy to get spoiled by social media these days. People who are caught up to the manga get spoiled in social media. I can't even begin to imagine people who aren't caught up to the manga. So he personally recommends to read them as soon as they're out. And again, he encourages once more not to postpone it, to read the series now. There's only so much longer that we'll be able to enjoy One Piece. So we should cherish our memories of these days for as long as we can. There quite is no phenomenon like reading One Piece. And that's the end of the interview. Those last 3 paragraphs right there, I have been stating since the Reverie arc, man. There is no better time to be a fan of this series than right now, guys. Which is why I'm so happy there's so many people catching up to the series right now, man. And there's so many people that are hopping on board, so many people getting back on the train after being off it for a while. It's just this weekly experience from, I would dare say, like I said, from Reverie, and then like the Reverie in and out chapters, and then Wano itself, has just been so much fun, bro. And I can't even begin to imagine how that's going to be whenever we get to Onigashima. I mean, seriously. Let's take chapter 957. Let's take the Reverie, like, main Reverie chapters into our minds here, right? 903, 906, 907, 908. When Wano was revealed, 909. We'll take the time travel reveals. Take that. Take whenever Kaido's revealed to be Dragon. Take whenever Luffy and Kaido were duking it out. When Luffy found Kid in prison. Then 925 with Blackbeard and finding out that Sabo and the rest of the Revolutionary Army captains were taking on the admirals. And I can't stress it enough, Blackbeard. And seeing all that stuff, they're seeing Mihawk and whatnot, and then we fast forward to see some of the other developments going on in Wano, Big Mom, Kaido, Lions, stuff's going down. It's madness, everything from there with Yasui, all that greatness. But then we oh crap, my thing's running out of battery. And then go forward into 957, 956. With what is going on with Sabo and Phoebe and Alabasta, Cobra. I mean, the mysteries. And then you have the abolishment of Shichibukai. And then in the midst of all of this, you have the bounty reveals for all the Yonko. Telling us, yo, anything can happen now. We got their bounty reveals. So if we start seeing them all over the place, this is their arc, son. We're in the Four Emperors saga. And it's just, there is nothing like this weekly experience, man. And the fact that we're getting stuff now that we never could have even imagined just a few years ago is enough for me to say, yo, this is the best time to be reading the series weekly. Because if we look at the stuff we've seen so far, and Oda, in his mind, was like, yo, these are going to be in-between arc chapters. This isn't even going to be a post-Wano chapter. Yo, whenever the Reverie arc started, we went into Wano, and I didn't know whether we were going back to like around the world. I was like, bro, is he really going to leave the abolishment of Chichibukai to post Wano? That would mean that the abolishment of Chichibukai is going to be deeply connected to what happens at the end of the series, right? And think about the Revolutionary Army and the war and all that stuff. And I was like, man, so he's really going to keep all that to the end of the series. He's giving us so much of that information in between the acts that I'm just like, brother, what in the world does he have planned for post Wano? And now, of course, we can see what he has planned for post Wano. But it's wild, man, and I agree with them 110%. This is the best time to get on board and for all of us to be a part of this weekly experience, bro, because the deeper we get into this Odin flashback and we start finding out more about these mysteries, and the deeper we get into Onigashima and we get into those crazy and incredible battles, possibly some character appearances we haven't seen from such a long time, seeing all these amazing interactions. If we see Shanks and Blackbeard, dog, y'all already know how I feel about those two characters. I mean, every single week's gonna be Santa Hat level. I mean, it's... And I can't stress it enough, man, of how grateful we all have to be caught up to the manga at this point in time. And for those people that aren't caught up, I agree with these editors, dog. Catch up. Be a part of this wonderful weekly experience, because Onigashima's gonna be a wild ride weekly, man. Onigashima, like Act 3, Act 4, Act 5, post Wano, is gonna be some of the most memorable experiences that we'll ever have. I think this arc already is some of the most incredible weekly experiences I've had with the series so far. And it's only just the beginning. I can only imagine how it's gonna be whenever we get towards the end of it, right? And so definitely this is the jumping on point. Wano is like the middle right here. Like, dog, we're getting so much. And this is starting that huge and massive thing that's going to take us towards the end of the series, bro. So like we still have stuff to speculate about. We still have stuff to think about. We still have mysteries that need to be solved. There will come a day where we will know what the Void Sentry is. There will come a day when we know what the Will of D is. There will come a day when we know what the One Piece is, dog. We already saw Vegapunk's silhouette. Vegapunk is incoming, possibly in post Wano, to tell us about the origin of the devil fruits and all that stuff. Like, bro, the day is coming very, very soon where these mysteries will no longer be mysteries, they will be facts. And I think one of the most incredible things about this series is speculating about certain mysteries and then having your ankles broken by Oda about some mystery, dog. And that is the wonderful part. Like, that's one of my favorite things about the weekly One Piece experience. Is that, and then my number one favorite thing about the weekly experience, above all else, is how incredible it feels when the entire community gets together for an awesome chapter, man. Like a 903 or a 907 or like 957 just recently, and 956. Like, it was just so cool seeing an entire community get together to be like, dog, this is that greatness, man, and just being hyped up about it. There's just nothing like the weekly One Piece experience. I stress that so much, man, but I'm glad the editors feel that way as well. But it's crazy to me that they are telling people, dog, like, they're basically saying, listen, dog, there's gonna be some massive spoilers coming in soon, so y'all better catch up. Y'all better catch up, because if not, everybody's getting spoiled. They're probably like, yo, in the back of their mind, oh yeah, man, you're gonna get spoiled on Shanks, you're gonna get spoiled on Blackbeard, you're gonna get spoiled on the Void Sentry, you're gonna get spoiled on Toki and that entire relationship, you're gonna get spoiled on whatever in Flying Flappers he has planned for, like, Kaido versus Luffy, and if whatever supernovas end up going with like Summer Kid, I don't know, man. Like all those crazy spoilers we've all been speculating on for so long. Like they're telling y'all this, and man, not only if you're not caught up, catch up, and if you are caught up, read the chapters as soon as possible, son. Because not after that, it's over. It's over, man. We can't be held responsible if y'all get spoiled. That's just how crazy the upcoming content's gonna be, and it's fascinating to me because back when Marineford was going on, the event of Ace's death to a series that people no longer cared about over here, at least as much as they did Naruto and Bleach. That event was so astronomical that in the era of no social media, in the era of the only bits, like it was the beginnings of Twitter, the beginnings of Facebook, MySpace was already dying out, we mainly only had YouTube. And in the midst of all of that, so many people got spoiled on Ace's death after it happened in the manga, and even more after it happened in the anime. I remember, I was there. I remembered, man, the two biggest events that have ever taken place in this community in terms of just gaining traction from a mainstream audience is Ace's death and the Toby reveal in Naruto. Those two things are the two biggest events that have ever taken place in this in this series and in the community. There are people, like I've said before, people laugh whenever I say this, but it's 100% true. I talked to a dude at GameStop. We got everybody saw my One Piece shirt, and he was like, "Yo, that's the series where Ace dies, right?" And bro, he doesn't even know Luffy's name. He just knows the series where Ace dies. And you're telling me that in Wano we're going to have a situation like that? That we're going to have a something of like, we already know it's going to be like that, but we're going to have, what would happen if Marineford was taking place now? We're like, back then everyone would have been spoiled. If we had Marineford happening in 2019 rather than 2009, 2010, everyone would have been spoiled on everything that was going down in that arc. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just how hyped we would have all been. I mean, I know for a fact, if I would have had Twitter back then, I would have been super hyped, dog, telling everybody, yo, what are y'all doing? Y'all are slacking, you know? So, but that's just what they're trying to say. Like, man, these are things that can easily be spoiled. We already see all over the place that people are already getting spoiled on Kaido being a dragon. Well, that's Toei's fault. Kaido being a dragon, they're getting spoiled on the bounties. Like, I've already seen so many people that have been complaining about getting spoiled about knowing that the Yonko bounties exist. Like, even though they don't necessarily know what the Yonko bounties are, they know the Yonko bounties exist. They know the Shichibukai have been abolished because they've seen the same Mihawk thumbnail and the same Mihawk pictures and the same Shanks bounty picture all over the internet. Like, yo, can you imagine if that's only just the beginning? And it is only just the beginning. And in Onigashima, we get stuff that, bro, just imagine, like legit, just imagine a situation where we have Shanks and Blackbeard and possibly Big Mom and Kaido and Luffy in the same chapter. Can you just begin to even like fathom how many spoilers are going to be all over the internet for Luffy versus Kaido / Big Mom? And if Shanks shows up, if Blackbeard shows up, anytime we get anything revealed to or related and revealed to the One Piece, do y'all remember how crazy it was when the time travel revelation was revealed? Do you remember how crazy it was when Sabo was revealed to still be alive and how many people got spoiled on that? Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the Void Century, the Will of D, the One Piece. I don't even want to begin to know just how insane it's going to be when that stuff gets revealed. That's why they're telling y'all, dog, y'all better read them quick. Y'all better read them quick, son. And it's spooky. And so I went and charged my camera for a little bit just to make sure it doesn't die because I really wanted to talk about a few of these things. So, like I said before, there was several different translations that I was going off of for today's interview, which is now what I'm going to be discussing. There was like a few different things that were different on a few different sites. So I'm going to take the common denominator from all of them and I'll talk about them here. So right here we have one particular question and answer, which was question to Heishi: is it correct that Oda Sensei stated that the story of the manga One Piece is over 50% done? The answer to that was One Piece is indeed 50% done. There's a lot of development in the story that is going to something when we get close to the end. And what that just tells me is something stuff we already know. Like, of course, the series is over 50% done, but there is definitely a lot of development in the story currently happening within the Wano arc that is going to showcase to us that we are getting close to the end, which is stuff that's already been stated. So then after that, Now, there was a few different translations when it comes to this particular portion, where it said, like, there was something, I kind of felt like it was misleading, where it said Luffy will fight Kaido and Big Mom and Wano, and it will be legendary or something like that. But when I read another translation, it said, in Wano, there will be important events, which will have Luffy versus Big Mom and Kaido. Now, when I thought about this, because it doesn't specify it's going to be the fight from Onigashima, I was like, because it's the guy from the anime, is it possible that he is talking about Luffy versus Big Mom and Udon and Luffy versus Kaido in Wano, or in Onigashima? Now, I know that we're assuming that Luffy versus Big Mom and Luffy versus Kaido and Big Mom is like the main thing happening in Onigashima, right? But what about if within this interview it really is just them hyping up Luffy versus Big Mom and Udon, and then Luffy versus Kaido? That either is going to happen in the anime soon in 923, or he's actually talking about the stuff that's going to happen in Onigashima. I'm not sure, but I'm going to assume it is the anime, and here's why. There's another portion of the interview where he hypes up Kaido versus Luffy in the anime, saying it'll be something grandiose, which we can all expect. I mean, by God, these are the same individuals that worked on chapter 800 or episode 870, Luffy vs. Katakuri. You know, so we already know that they're gonna give us something special. And when I mean same individuals, I'm not talking about the same staff. I'm talking about the because I don't know the staff working on that particular episode, but it's the same studio that is going to give us, I'm going to assume, the same level of quality that they give us for that chapter, or for that episode, because they realized the importance of two Yonko going at it. They realized the importance of Luffy versus Kaido, son. Like, they've been hyping it up for so long that there's no way it's not going to be really awesome. So, take that as you will. I always, like I said before earlier on in the, for certain interviews and for just interviews in general, take it at face value for certain things. And this is one of those things to where don't make too big of a thing out of it because it's unclear. You know, it could mean that they're talking about Luffy versus Kaido and Big Mom in Onigashima, but I truly do think that they are discussing simply, because it is the anime staff, Luffy versus Big Mom and Udon, and Luffy versus Kaido in Wano, or very well in Onigashima. But regardless, it's stuff we already know is going to happen, you know. So then, right after that, we have them talking about what the cover stories, like, are we going to be able to see, like, we would love to see the cover stories done in the anime, or are y'all planning on working on them? And basically, from what I was able to gather from some different translations, it's basically that they want to do the cover stories, but they're so busy on Wano at this point in time, they're just focusing on that, which is very cool though, that like they have that in mind. It's kind of like a no, honestly. Like, whenever you listen to it, like, yeah, we want to do that, but we're so busy with Wano, dog. Like, yeah, leave that over there. But at the very least, you see that they have interest. Like, they even talked about how, in another translation, I read that they would like to adapt the cover stories and the novels, like with Ace and Law. So it just leaves room for OVAs, it leaves room for special one-shot episodes like the Romance Dawn special we got just recently. But I feel like because they're putting so much focus into Wano right now, that's like the last thing on their mind. But they are open to doing cover stories, and I hope they do end up doing cover stories in the future, because I really enjoyed the stuff like in the beginning of the series, like Kobe and Garp and whatnot, like and with Buggy. Those cover stories are really nice, and I would love for them to integrate that into the series. We even got the cover stories in the Reverie arc. So we see the initiative, and we see that they want to do that. We mainly, my favorite use of the cover stories was how the anime handled seeing what the Straw Hats were up to while they were gone, and Luffy was fighting an Impel Down, and in Amazon Lily and Impel Down and Marineford, like where we got to see them in between those arcs in a similar way to where we got to see them in the cover pages in the manga that point in time. That's been so far my favorite use of the cover pages in the anime, and I would love to see stuff like that in the anime once again in the future. Of course, not right now because we're in the middle of Wano Awesome Sauce, but definitely in the future I would love to see stuff like that, or like I said before, OVAs. And then right here, this one is the important one, the big one that has received so much misinformation and mistranslation, or I shouldn't say mistranslation, but so many different translations. And the reason why I had to be like flagnards, I don't know, because it's like, it's the same statement, but they go hand in hand. But the way that it's worded, I guess, was so weird, where people just are like they can't grasp it, and because I don't speak the language, I won't be able to grasp it myself. So I'm just going off what other people are saying. So these two things I think go hand in hand. So they are saying that by the end of Wano, we're going to have an idea, or more of an idea, that we're truly going towards the end of the series. Right? That's the main gist of all of the translations that I read today. Of we're gonna be seeing the end. Like we are by the time we finish Wano, we're gonna be like Flagnards. We are in the end game. Now, in certain translations, they talk about the One Piece and how we're gonna have more of an understanding of what the One Piece is, or something related to it. Now, this is something that we read from the interview with Naito, and how in the arc we're going to gain a hint and or information on the One Piece itself, which to me just once again goes back to the Clover situation from the Enies Lobby flashback with Robin, and how we got so many hints with the Void Century in that arc, and yet it feels like we have more questions than ever. That is how I feel like it's going to be handled in this arc with the One Piece, and how they're going to do that type of stuff. But of course, it's going to be more hints and more knowledge about the entire thing, possibly people talking about it, than ever before. But this is where everything gets weird, because it feels like these two statements go hand in hand. So it says that by the end of the arc, we'll be able to have an idea that we're truly heading towards the end game of the series. And then after that, it's stated, hold on, let me pull up the translation I liked, that basically he knows the ending of the series, and he won't give any news about it, of course, but basically when Ace died, Oda told them that Flagnards, or no, he didn't. I would love for Oda to use the word Flagnards, but he told them that One Piece fans were really impacted by this. Like, this is something that truly hit him from an emotional standpoint. You can tell that it was a massive thing that truly affected many people. But he's going to make the end of One Piece more impactful than that. And so, I read like 5 different translations on this, where some said that the end of One Piece is going to be more sad than Ace's death. The end of One Piece is going to be more impactful and going to hit us on the same level as Ace's death. But I feel like this translation says it best, where we have a situation that Oda, Toei, they know how impactful Ace's death was. Ace's death is probably the number one thing that this series, from a mainstream standpoint, like I've said many, many times, it has like that everyone just knows. Like when you get into One Piece, you know Ace dies. Like I said, that's just the thing. It should be in the summary. You know what I'm saying? This is the series where Ace dies, because everybody knows. And so, because it was that impactful, because it was that huge, Oda is stating that the end of the series, the end of One Piece, is going to deliver more of an impact in Oda's mind, in theory, than Ace's death. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because as we've always speculated on the channel, and just in general in the community, and the end of the series, of course, is going to be sad in general, because it's the end of One Piece, the end of a massive journey. But I've always speculated that Luffy's gonna die. I've always speculated, what in the flying fragments is that? You guys hear that sound? I don't know what that is, but anyways, I've always speculated that the end of One Piece is gonna be very, very sad. When it comes to losing Luffy, because I do think that Luffy's gonna die after his adventure, after his journey ends. Now, how he dies, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's going to be him getting executed in a similar way Roger did, with Kobe being the one to do it. I don't know if he's going to die by a disease or whatever the case may be, but I've always thought that once Luffy's journey ends, his life will end as well, in a similar way that Roger's did. And I've always felt that an extremely fitting end to the series, in a similar way to how it is with Pirates here in reality, of how we live on through the tales of pirates based on the dream logs and the logs they left behind, the legends of these characters, the legends of Blackbeard, the legends of Davy Jones, the legends of like these very popular figures from back then that started this entire pirate craze in the first place. And I feel like what better way to end a series like this than with a chapter titled The Pirate King Monkey D. Luffy, and having all of the wonderful characters in this series, but above all of them, you know, above even a Hancock with those, oh my god. Bro, though, if Luffy really does die, and we get the character interactions, or like certain characters that we know, like the gags would normally be funny, but it'll just make you cry because like 5 flag darts, it hurts, like with Hancock, with Buggy, with Law, but above all, the Straw Hats, man. Above all, the Straw Hats. Y'all have seen the amount of pictures of like the memes of Usopp telling the legendary tale of his captain, or Brook telling a song while in front of the graves of all the Straw Hats. That's just always how I have envisioned the end of the series. Maybe it is because I've seen it so much and in pictures, but I feel like that's perfect. Perfect of everyone just... Luffy's somebody that impacts so many different people. You know, he himself changes gradually as the series goes on in little different ways, but as a person in his core, he's always stayed the same, which is why he's able to impact everyone else, and everyone else changes. You know? And so, with that being said, what more of a beautiful way than to have everyone else speak of his legend and speak of the Pirate King and everything that he did as a beautiful finale to the series, man. You know, of course, and it just makes sense, because if Oda wants to leave that emotional impact, everything else aside from that, from the character's standpoint, seems like it's going to be very uplifting. You know, the dawn of the new era. It looks like that whenever the Straw Hats finishing, I'm going to assume toppling down as the Messenger Sama, the world government gets taken over by, like, the members of Sword, for example, with like Smoker and Kobe and Aokiji and them, you know, building in Fujitora, building up this new Marines from the ground up with a new sense of justice around town, and you know, certain things would move on from there. The pirate era, of course, would probably be done from that point onward, and a lot of things would be different, but it would be different for in a much more happier way in the One Piece world, where so many things would change, all thanks to the Straw Hats. So in that aspect, it would definitely be extremely happy. But knowing how Oda is as a writer, he always wants to leave an impact in our minds, right? When it comes to certain things. So I always thought about how we can leave that impact, and we always look back to either a Straw Hats, Straw Hats, or something like that dying. But I don't know about all the other Straw Hats, but in my mind, you know, I've read and watched other series where the main character does die in it. I'm not gonna say what series, because of course I don't want to spoil it, but it raises the legacy of that series to me. It raises that series, like, wow, they executed upon that so well. It just sticks with you forever. And I'm not saying I want the king to die, because y'all know that's my goal. That's my favorite character in this series, and one of my favorite characters of all time. You know, that's Monkey D, bro. In a series that is filled with so many wonderful villains, and me, the person that loves villains, there's just one character that stands above them all, and that's the king, bro. I don't care who Luffy's up against, man. I want him to take the dub, because I want to see his journey to the end. I want to see my boy become the king of the pirates, and his personality, the way that he's truly free. That's my boy, dog. So, of course, I don't want him to die. But I feel like if Oda really wants to leave that similar type of impact, then it would, if it's not based around Luffy dying and that entire message that he stated from the beginning of the series with like inherited will and the dawn of a new era and all that stuff, then I don't know what he has in mind. I mean, I know that he has many different things that he wants to do and tell there at the end of the story, and things that are really going to leave an impact on us. So many different events, like not just one particular event, like just that. So many different events leading up to that. It's going to be huge, right? But I think the long-lasting impact, no matter what happens, even if we get the happy ending, where everybody lives, I feel like no matter what Oda does, the ending is going to leave a bigger impact. No matter what he does, because it's the ending of One Piece, you know? It just makes sense. But in Oda's mind, because he loves to go above and beyond everything and loves to surpass expectations, that's why we think about stuff like that. I want to assume the question was something along the lines of, any ideas or hints towards the end of the series? And that's probably whenever they started talking about, no, but we can tell you that we are definitely going to start seeing the end of One Piece, and get definitely, like, I think the audience will, and the readers around the world, or in the watchers around the world, will be able to have like a better idea of the ending of the series once we reach the end of Wano, and then he possibly start talking about the impact that the end of the series is probably going to have based on something that Oda told them in the past. And that's it. That's all he told them. You know, something very, very vague. Something, you know what, the end of the series is going to have a lot of impact. Because Oda told them, man, I know how much people were impacted by Ace, but I can only imagine how much the end of the series is gonna impact them based on what I have in mind. Something just very, very simple, and it's something that we've all thought about. It's something that we've all expected. Like if Oda, knowing how much he has hyped up and how much he has in store for the final arc, how he always talks about it in such a big way, like, man, I just can't wait to write this, can't wait to write this. Of course it's going to leave a massive impact on us, in Oda's mind and in theory, and I think it will end up being executed very well, just knowing that it is Oda that's going to be doing it. But I think it is something as simple as that. I think it truly is just the individuals just hyping up the fact that we should get excited for the final arc. It is going to leave an impact on us, and we're going to see that the beginnings of that final arc here in Wano. And I think that's all there is to it. I think they did give us a couple of bits and pieces of information, especially from the other interview, some really little nice stuff. But overall, from today's interview, I feel like it was it's stuff that I'm not gonna say we already knew, but it's like, I guess, confirmation, I suppose, on certain things that we had already been speculating. So nothing too big, but I felt like it was worth talking about, for sure. I feel like it was worth talking about and dissecting and truly talking about what exactly it is that they're trying to say here, especially with so many different translations on the internet right now. So I'm pretty sure, because knowing my luck, by the time I finish recording this video, there's going to be a better translation out there. So I can only assume and imagine that by the time I upload this, it's going to be completely irrelevant because somebody will actually have a proper one up. But I wanted to do it anyways, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to talk about it and discuss these two interviews as best as I can before my camera died. So if anybody actually watches to the end, I definitely do appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing what all of you have to think or have to say about this particular these topics, like all of these topics and these things, and whichever one that you want to talk about. I would love to hear your thoughts on any of the things we discussed in today's video, because there's definitely a lot that you could do individual videos on, and there's definitely some really cool little tidbits, but it's stuff that is just overall getting us very, very excited for the future of the series. And it's going to get us, of course, like the editor stated, it's the best time to hop on and join the weekly experience, man, because we're going to get some awesome stuff that is going to take us on a wild journey that is the finale of the series, man. So I hope to see all of you soon, man. Have an awesome day. Cannot wait for the episode whenever it drops, man. I will see y'all then. I'm probably going to be able to react to it tonight because my camera's dead almost, so I'll have to put it to charge. Hopefully it'll be good by tomorrow morning, and then we'll react to it then, man. So I'll see y'all next time. Have an awesome day. One Piece greatness. I'll see you in the comments.